I'm talking about Ubering and Lyfting 3 times a week from here to Beverly Hills and back for my internship because I was not going to take my 2004 quadruple hand-me-down Subaru across the country from home. And, well, you know, people contain multitudes. Like, we know this, but boy, are there some characters. Like, I mean, you gotta be kind of down bad to be like driving like actually, scratch that. Down your luck. That would be, dude, if people are like down bad as like Uber drivers, it's like, guys are like the Uber X. I'll order that limo, extra stretch. But no, enough of the euphemisms. There's some wild characters. I mean, there was this one guy, I remember he was on the phone, I was in the back seat, and he's talking to his friend, and he's like, yeah, dude, yesterday was just such a wild day. I mean, I was going from publisher to publisher to try to get my children's book made, and they had to go all the way down to Compton to renew my gun license. Pause, sir. I spent the rest of the drive trying to connect those 2 dots, and wherever I ended up, I did not like it. I had there was another man, his name was Dragon with 2 A's. He was from Yugoslavia, and he was an older gentleman. A lot of these older guys, they love to impart unsolicited advice on you. And you know, he survived communism, he made it across the world. I'll hear him out. And you know, he gave me 3 central pillars for life. He said, take good care of your body, always plan ahead, and time waits for no one. And his central idea to connect these pillars was, have a lot of sex when you're in your 20s. I was like, Mr. Dragon, sir, first couple years, not off to a great start, I'll admit. Got 8 more, you know, if it gets a little heavy, I can always order an Uber XXX. But hopefully we don't get there. Thank you. And you know, it was a really interesting drive. Yeah, I'm a kind of a vain guy, and he said he was 70. I was like, man, you look 55, how do you do it? I had a lot of sex in my 20s. I'm like, point taken, I get it. And you know, they did not have free speech in the former Yugoslavian Republic, but they sure had free love, so place to be, I guess. But the driver that left the biggest impact on me was a man named Sharon. He picked me up from my office building, and you know when there's like someone who, just from the first second of interacting with them, you're like, this is not a regular person? He was one of those guys, you know? And I get in the car, and you do the whole Uber thing, and you say their name, they say yours. He calls me Shane Jerome. Did not know that middle names are like listed on Uber, or at least I hope they are, because otherwise this is gonna be like the last car I ever step into. And you know, I get in the car and he just turns around to me, he's like, both our names start with SH. Yeah, what are you, 4? I mean, I guess that makes us forever friends, Sharon. I'm just praying that this is gonna be a silent drive after this. But no, right away, I hear him say, nice building. You know, I'll admit, I was a little proud. It was like this Beverly Hills building. It was really pretty. It was my first like film internship. So I'm like, yeah, man, you should see it on the inside. And then I see where he was really looking. You see, there's a LA Fitness at the base of our building. And well, there was a woman walking across. His eye line was following you. She worked out. And I realized he said nice body. And I just said, you should see it on the inside. And I'm going to shut up for the rest of this ride before I'm complicit in any more blatant acts of misogyny. So, terrified of this man, and you know, we spent like the next 8 to 10 minutes, we're all good, we're quiet. And then, you know, we passed like some gas, and this was the summer when it soared above $7. And you know, he's like, oh, it's so expensive these days. I'm like, yep, this is a conversation I can get behind, classic Uber conversation. But just before I checked to make sure there's no like late 20-somethings, and he wasn't lamenting the price of ass, not gas, but coast was clear. So we get to talk, and he says, you know, when I first came to this country, like I drove across the entire states on $40 of gas or something. And you know, my ears kind of perk up, I listen. I'll admit, I'm kind of a sucker for like the Uber driver immigrant story, because it's kind of one of the few times you can believe in the American dream until you realize like they're driving an Uber. So it's a little sad, but you know, he asked me about my situation. I'm like, oh, my old Subaru. And he's like, no, Shane. Because we're on a first name basis at this point. And at least he didn't call me Shane Jerome. And you know, he's like, well, why don't you take your Subaru out there? And he's like, you know what I say about cars? They're just like women. The older, the better. I'm like, Miss Nice Body would suggest otherwise, but all right, sir. And he says, you know, women these days, they just don't understand what they want. And I kid you not, I spent the next 5 minutes, I did not respond to the man. It was just utter silence. Because I was like, I know this is sexist. I'm gonna try to figure out how and why this is, and sit and figure it out. And then something came to me. this man Shram, he'd be a good stand-up bit. I mean, it took 2 years but we got here. And thank you. Yeah. And I start engaging in this conversation with this man. And what do I find out is, besides, of course, the misogyny and the sexism, he's kind of an upstanding gentleman. I mean, he starts talking about how he visits his mom in assisted living care like 3 times a week. And he starts giving me advice about, if I get married, if I have kids, you should try to have both sets of grandparents nearby so it doesn't put too much strain on the children. I'm like, this man's considerate as fuck. Jesus. And all of a sudden, I'm unpacking to Mr. Nice Body my trauma as a 6-year-old moving from New Jersey to Maryland. And we're getting deep at this point. And then we start like lamenting together about how there's so much materialism in the love game. And it's not about the price of the ring. It's about the intention of the act and the love behind it. And all of a sudden, time flies by, and we're back at Levy's circle. And it's like this weight feeling, and I get to open the door, and I realize I'm never going to see this man again. Like, we made this like twin flame connection. Like, he wasn't kidding about the SH thing. Like, we're kind of forever friends. As I get out, he wishes me blessings about my life in terms of my career and my family, and I wish him a life full of old cars and even older women. I think this just goes to show you that if I just swore him off right away, I would never have gotten all those pearls of wisdom. So be open to the people you hear, no matter how many comments they make about women half their age. Maybe scratch that last part, but you get it. Thank you very much. This was an honor.